No, I hit go live and it crashed. And we are live.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm sure Matt and Miles will join in here in just a second, but welcome to Vikings Happy Hour. Matt, Miles, and I are going to be here talking about the Vikings defense. Is it a liability, or are they a reliable source for us on the back end while we try to hold on to these leads? So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Hopefully, everyone's here, and yeah, skull, baby.
Welcome to Vikings Happy Hour, where we mix our favorite beverage and talk of your Minnesota Vikings. Skull!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Vikings Happy Hour. It's been a little bit since we've done this, but a lot has changed. I mean, the Vikings went on a couple game winning streak. They continue to defy all logic when it comes to these performances, and they sit one game away from clinching the NFC North on Sunday. I don't even know kind of where to start. I know we in the show notes we talked about the defense, whether these one score games are sustainable. So I think I'll just toss it to you two. We can start with you first, Ryan, and lead us whichever direction, because there's plenty to talk about in both instances.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like last year we had a lot of our one score games came down to us, right? Like you think of like the Lions, the first game against the Lions that we won, the Cardinals game, the Bengals game. I mean, all these different games. It came down to the offense needing to deliver, and sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't. Again, I think we were about 500 in those one score games last year, and it's not every game this year, but it seems like a lot of the games, it's coming down to that defense needing to make a play, whether it was, Buffalo to hold on to the win, whether it was last week, again, needing to hold on to the win and coming up with a big play at the end of the game. It seems like the defense is continuing to step up. Now, I know the question is this sustainable?
Right.
Um, I to your point, it defies all logic. Like, how are we probably the worst defense in the league? I mean, statistically, we're letting up, I think, the second most yards in the league, and we're we can't stop a nosebleed in quarters 1 through 3. And then that fourth quarter comes and we're sitting here stonewalling at the goal line multiple games. We are getting timely interceptions or interceptions we need so we can go take the lead and make these comebacks. So I don't know if it's sustainable, but we haven't been proven that it isn't, I guess, right? I mean, it's been happening each week. So I'm going to enjoy the ride and not worry too much of whether is this sustainable or not. Let's just take it week to week and enjoy the ride.
Miles, are you feeling the same way?
Yeah, I mean, we've had. I think I've seen arguments about the one score games ad nauseum across the timeline on Twitter, but I think it holds merit that the Vikings are obviously winning these one score games. Of course, I do have a concern that at some point that's going to fall off and we're going to lose a really bad in a really bad way. Probably. Do I think it's going to happen at the worst time in the playoffs or something? Of course, that's just me as a Vikings fan, but. I mean, at this point, it's really hard to. This team is really difficult. Like they're good. So point blank, period. Let's stop there. This is a good football team. Um,
You
how
don't
good?
win
I
10
still think we're
games
all like,
if you're not good.
no, exact. This early in the season, you don't win 10 games. Yeah, for sure. I think we're all still wondering how good is this team.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fair question to still ask. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We're 10-2, locked in the NFC North pretty much division. the 2 seed is essentially like locked up. At worst, the 2 seed might be like locked up for us pretty early on too if we win a couple more games, just because the way the rest of the NFC is playing out. Like the Eagles, between us and the Eagles for that 1 seed, and
Mm-hmm.
probably between us and the Eagles for that 2 seed. So that's at least nice to have. Expect the Vikings to be able to play a home game in the playoffs. I think the biggest worry I have is like the cornerback position. I think we've talked about that. I'm not as worried about like Ed Donatel. I think previous shows we've talked about this defense kind of is what it is. I don't think the talent level is all that high. You have a few blue chip guys, but some of them are aging. And then you have a few other guys that are pretty good. Then the rest are pretty mediocre to lower level types of players. So that's why I say the cornerback position is really tough, because you have a Caleb Evans who just went on IR. Obviously, Andrew Booth's out for the season. Cameron Dantzler is expected to be back, which is a huge boost for this defense. But even when he was playing, it's not going to sit here and pretend like the pass defense was great just because Cam Dantzler either. And so hopefully he can come back, get back up to speed, and at least just put a little bit more sustainability to that core, and a little bit more stability, not sustainability, so stability to the core. And so my hope is the defense can just continue to be a bend don't break type team. And then I think the third quarter, Mary mentioned it, the third quarter is our biggest issue. We just gotta I feel like the end of half situations have kind of dwindled a little bit. We haven't been as sharp at end of half situations the last few weeks. And I think just going into the third quarter, where we've really struggled to put together an offense in any capacity. And so we can get some leads or we could be down. We got to stop relying on the fourth quarter to be our savior one way or the other, if we need to come back from a game or if we need to close out a game. So I think we need to be better in the third quarter to help make that fourth quarter a little easier.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned it, and I've heard it a bunch, the whole bend, don't break mantra of this Vikings defense. And even in the game, the commentators were kind of talking about they don't really care about how many yards they let up, as long as they don't let up the points. Does that concern you guys? It seems like a shift in the NFL, especially coming from like a Zimmer style defense who prided themselves off of not allowing a lot of points, not allowing a lot of yards, really being dominant in those facets. Does that concern you guys, or do you trust this defense as we approach playoff football?
Well, it's kind of tough. I mean, you watched a Cowboys team go and put up quite a few on us, and they have a good defense, right? So, we're feeling a little good right now because we just went up against granted, I don't think we should, but we just went up against the Patriots and pulled out a win. We went up against the Jets, and again, people are talking about how great our offense is playing because we're going against, the last 4 games we went against like the top 4 defensive teams in the league, and we've been able to put up points and win 3 of those 4. But we're all like the last 2 games we went up against probably the 2 worst offenses, or some of the 2 worst offenses in the league, and we got outplayed on offense last game. Granted, we won the game because our defense actually was the ones that kept us in that game by holding them to field goals. But they outgained us on offense. You look at the Patriots game, I think it's the same thing. So that I'm concerned that once we get to teams that are well balanced, who aren't just so one-sided, really good on defense. Like you look at the Niners. I know they have Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy just got them a win against the Dolphins, not a Tua-less Dolphins like we did. Brock Purdy just went and beat the Dolphins because they have a good defense and they have a good offensive system that allows him to, get the ball quick and then let their guys make plays, right? You look at a team like that. You look at the Cowboys who just tore us apart, the Eagles who just tore us apart earlier this year. Those are probably the only teams I'm really that concerned about. I'm not saying we can't beat them, but can our defense hold up, and then can our offense put up points against some of those better teams?
And we're still kind of waiting for that complete game too, right? Like I don't think we've seen glimpses of it. I think the Jets game early on was like, wow, this is gonna be a blowout, and then the offense just kind of disappeared and let the Jets come back into it. And I guess I don't know where I was going to go off of that, but Miles, what's your thought overall on the defense? Can we trust them as we head into the postseason? Before you answer that too, I saw a question in the chat, which is just relevant to a different conversation you and I have had recently about free agents to bolster the secondary. So we should talk about that if we have time, even though that's like an off-season conversation. I know it's kind of fresh in our memory.
I think this one might have said to bolster the rest of the season for the playoff push. So it's a little bit of a different combo. To answer that quickly, no, I don't think there's anybody out there right now that's going to be able to help bolster this defense in any significant way, unless someone gets released over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was just looking at the list, and it's like, and I thought I saw this on Twitter earlier, like today or yesterday, but like somebody mentioned Richard Sherman. And it's like, man, dude's sitting comfy in a analyst chair right now. I don't think he's looking to really come back and play football right now. Maybe he is, who knows? But I doubt it. And I'm looking at this list. There's just not a lot of talent, really. And if it is, it's probably pretty washed talent at this point. So, I mean, I think you just got to stick with, who we got. And unfortunately, it's not a lot, but it's all we can really do. And who knows? Like, we've had guys step up and play. Caleb Evans wasn't supposed to be anything, and he stepped up and played well. I mean, the little guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Duke Shelley.
Duke Shelley. Like, I don't think he's that great of a corner, but whenever he sees that end zone, he turns into Superman or something. Like, like he just is not letting anything get by him in the end zone. And I mean, and I'm assuming we have a couple practice squad guys are going to have to come up. So hopefully the coaches can coach them up, and let's see what we got.
So then back to the original question, Miles, do you trust this defense as the postseason looms upon us?
I mean, no, but to be fair, I don't think we should. I think for me, at least going into this season, no matter how this season was going to play out, for me, if the Vikings were going to be successful, it was going to be because of the offense. And I think that's what it needs to be. The offense needs to drive and needs to win games for this football team. I mean, point blank period. Like, the defense has come up clutch a few times this season, which is great. That's, the Bills, obviously this last week, the Lions, like there's a handful of situations where this team has, been able to do that. But I think the offense needs to be able to put teams away, or at least make it harder for defenses, especially. That's why to me, the third quarter is such an important scenario, because if you're putting up negative yardage on offense in the third quarter, you're going to let teams like the Jets come back. We're lucky that the defense didn't allow a touchdown until the fourth quarter of that game, because if they let up a touchdown anytime in that third quarter, when the Jets were driving up and down, we might be talking about a loss to the Jets. So I think the offense is the reason this team is gonna go anywhere. Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, T.J. Hawkinson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, like those guys are going to be the reason. And that offensive line is going to be the reason this team goes far in the playoffs, because they're going to be the ones that have to keep pace with other teams, but they're also going to have to just put up points. Like, even if, let's say we play a New York Giants team, you put up, 17, they give up 17 points on defense. We shouldn't be mad at the defense giving up 17, 20 points, 24 points to a team right now. We shouldn't. We should be mad at our offense if they don't match that, or even, or even better than that. This offense should be able to put up 24, 26, 27, 30 points. Maybe not every week, of course, but consistently this offense should be able to do that. And so that's why I put more onus on the offense for expectations than I do the defense.
So I guess let me rephrase this then. Are you more concerned about the offense then in the postseason, or the defense?
I can't sit here and say I'm like, I don't know. I think that's the easiest way to answer that, is more so like, I have confidence in the I have more confidence in the offense than I do the defense. But I think it's all about how we can get guys, the secondary offensive players involved. And I think we've seen O'Connell do a little bit better job doing that. But it can't just be JJ. As much as we love Justin Jefferson, and as much as he's going to feast on defenses, you even saw against the Jets, besides his touchdown and a couple of key third down catches, of course, too. I'm not going to dismiss those, but he kind of was held in check for that most part of that game. And so that's going to happen on occasion. Defenses are going to hone in on him. He is that primary player. He is the guy that if I was a defensive coordinator, I'm letting anybody else on the Vikings offense beat me but Justin Jefferson. So I'm putting 2-3 guys on him. I'm doing whatever I got to do to stop him, right? I'm making anybody else beat me. And I think O'Connell needs to do a little bit of a better job beating defenses with some of those other players. We brought in TJ Hawkinson. I think he's had a couple down weeks. I think it'd just be a perfect opportunity to get him a revenge. I'm not going to call it a revenge game, but like against the Lions, but like get him more involved, against his former team. Adam Thielen, we saw a little bit more of KJ Osborne. I think because the Jets had such good cornerbacks in DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner, we were able to get KJ Osborne a little bit more involved because that third guy finally was, the outside guys had a little bit more attention and better personnel against them than what we've seen in the past weeks. And so I think that's where a guy like KJ Osborne can succeed a little bit too. So and Rager got open, just get the ball in his hands and some gadget plays, some quick hitting plays, maybe a deep shot here and there. So we have weapons. I just think we need to utilize them a little bit more efficiently.
Ryan, do you feel the same way? You have confidence in the offense, or more confidence in the offense, but still maybe a little bit worried about both?
Well, yeah, I mean the issues that I think some of the issues we've had is we're putting a defense in a position where we had a 20-3 lead, which is great, but like how do you go silent and only put up 7 points for the rest of the game? You know what I mean? Like you had so many opportunities to even sustain a drive. I mean, there's no way a team should be able to get back into the game if your offense is playing well enough to get you 20 points, right? Like, so I don't like the disappearing act that the offense typically has every game. It's every game that the offense disappears for a little bit of time. I think the only game that they didn't really was the Patriots. I think it was pretty much just a back and forth, slugfest there offensively. But outside of that, the offense disappears, especially when we're up big. And it's like, I don't know if we're playing conservative or what it is, but we just need to keep laying it on. So yeah, I mean, to Miles' point, I have higher expectations for them than the defense. Now, Todd brings up a good point here. We are, I think, like third in turnovers in the league right now. So we got to give the defense credit, right? Like when the opportunity strikes, they haven't executed on all those opportunities because otherwise we'd have some more interceptions. But they're opportunistic and they're taking advantage of it. So it's one of those things where is that sustainable? Is continuing to create turnovers sustainable? Because that's how our defense has been able to hold off a lot of these comebacks, right? Is a big play that allowed us to turn the tide, so to speak, and go score a touchdown to take the lead or whatever. Can we continue to do that? That's a tough thing to ask when they're just giving up so many yards and points. But they, again, like I said earlier today, they haven't proven us that they can't keep it up because it's continuing to happen every game. So I'm going to keep believing as long as they keep producing and continue to hedge my bet on us winning these close games for sure. So
we have the Lions on Sunday and some news today. I think it was today, maybe it was yesterday, that Caleb Evans is going to be placed on IR. The Vikings are still kind of taking the cautious approach to Christian Darrisaw, and they can do that. But are you guys concerned at all about just like injuries potentially coming up in these next few weeks? Because I didn't prep you for this, but when you get to be in the position that we are, right, a good record, maybe vying for a bye or just a lock for a playoff spot, which we could clinch on Sunday, do you take a different approach for how you play your players, knowing that you have a longer season ahead? And maybe that includes some starters too.
I'll take that real quick first. A lot of our injuries aren't like wear down injuries, right? They're not like pulled hamstrings or like I'm worn down in my shoulder. They're almost all of these are concussions. Like a Caleb Evans was a concussion. Darisaw has a concussion. We're losing all these guys basically due to the concussions. So it's one of those things where it's pretty unavoidable, right? I mean, Darisaw's was just a DN, just came right at him, and they kind of bumped heads, and he's out, right? Evans, got taken out by his own guy, right? I mean, but trying to make a play, right? Again, these things just happen, but I don't think you can avoid that. But I think our training team are I forget what they call it, the sports science team or whatever. They're doing a great job of, I think, keeping us healthy for the most part outside of that, right? I mean, obviously, Booth got hurt and he's just kind of injury prone apparently, but outside of that, everyone's just getting concussions, and those are pretty unavoidable. So I'm not that concerned, because I feel like everything that's come our way has just been, that's kind of just dumb luck, unfortunately.
Miles, you feel the same way there?
I think the Vikings have afforded themselves, and I think Kevin O'Connell has kind of hinted at this. I think they've gotten to a point where they can afford to let guys maybe not fully rest, but play less snaps. So Darius Smith is a prime example of a guy who the last couple of weeks has not played his normal snap count and hasn't been as effective. And I think they're trying to be cautious with a guy like him because they know how important he is, because they know how important he needs to be for them, as we move forward into the playoffs. And so a guy like him, a guy like even Adam Thielen, who we've seen get banged up quite often, almost every game. I think he's at some point, down, and you're like, is he, oh man, is this it? Those types of situations. So some of these older vets are guys that you could afford to, decrease some of their snap counts, do some things just to, help them get healthier and rejuvenated as we get closer to the playoffs. Because you've afforded yourself that gap and opportunity and that buffer to make sure that these guys are healthy. And so if you need to put in a Caleb Evans, so I'm going to sit here and I'm going to start. We don't know if Caleb Evans is going to come back this year. Three concussions in a matter of a couple months. That's a lot. I actually applaud them for putting him in IR, because that means they can't rush him back. They can't put themselves in a situation where maybe he's back next week. Maybe that. No, they're like, it's at least 4 weeks, and we'll reassess as we go. And I think that's the best approach for a head injury like that. And so, it's scary in those situations. Obviously, wishing him all the best, but in general, I think the tough part is where's the fine line? But where I started is I think they've awarded themselves an opportunity. If guys need to wrestle a bit, let them. If you need to drop a game because you need to sit Kirk Cousins, maybe Kirk Cousins needs to sit because that dude's been getting banged up like crazy the last few weeks.
Taking some hits.
If you need to sit him, if you need to sit him for a week, and maybe that's week 18, whatever. But if you need to do that just to give him a week of that break, this team needs to do those types of things, because the goals now, yes, it's obviously win the division. Hopefully you can clinch that up in the next, by Sunday. And then try for the 1 seed. But at best, you're at worst, you're 2 or 3 seed. This team is going to be, and you're hosting a playoff game. The division needs to be bigger than just the regular season at this point. It's about the playoffs and winning in the playoffs. And that's where I think their heads are going to start going.
And part of that too, Miles, is that, by resting some of these vets, you're going to get some of these other guys opportunities to play in the event that we do get to the playoffs and we do actually get an injury. Getting up Brian Asamoah some more reps, in case, because it's not like our 2 linebackers are young. I think they're both around 30 years old, and they're getting, and I think somebody mentioned earlier, you take a look at that Niners team, they got a lot of speed. The Cowboys beat us with speed, is, what they had said, which is very true, with those running backs. And Brian Asamoah, getting him some more opportunities. So if you do get into that situation where, Tony Pollard is running rampant on us, we can get him in and he knows what he's doing, right? Guys like that, guys like, I'm assuming we're elevating some practice squad guy in the cornerback room. If one of these guys gets hurt, let Patrick Peterson rest a little bit, right? So we gotta give these guys opportunities. I know they actually have been managing Harrison Smith's reps a little bit throughout the season. You're seeing Josh Metellus get some more run, which has been good. And again, I saw Asamoah in there last week. So, I mean, you're seeing it, but Patrick Jones, I texted both of you guys during the game, like his stock is way up right now. That dude's just playing really,
He
really
looked
well.
good. He looked very good on
Yeah,
Sunday.
get these guys some more opportunities. Let them get some hits in, in the event that when we get to the playoffs and they're called upon, they can effectively play.
You bring up a good point about that, and you called out a couple of guys on the defensive side, but I actually saw Jalen Naylor in for a couple of reps on Sunday's game, and then obviously Jalen Rieger as well with the big catch. So you might be onto something that maybe they're scaling back a little bit, and that's how they're going to approach this as they head into the postseason to get these guys some game reps, so that way if they do need them, they're ready to go. Before we hit the second half here, which is primarily going to be playoff conversation, just a shout out to everybody here in the chat joining us this evening. Thank you. We appreciate the comments that are flowing in, and also a shout out to our two sponsors. That's Badass Wood Art. Remember, with Christmas and the holidays right around the corner, you can go order your custom Badass Wood Art using Climbing the Pockets promo code CT Pocket for 20% off any one item, as well as heading over to Lake Monster Brewing Company. They have currently on tap this warm cider type of beer. I don't have the name with me right now. It hits the spot on a cold day. I'll tell you that. It's a very good beer along with their other ones. So be sure if you're in the Twin Cities to head over to Lake Monster Brewing and have those beers as well. Before we talk about playoff matchups, what do you need to see? I'm just going to ask each of you individually, and then we'll figure out an ideal playoff matchup for the Vikings in the first round, assuming they don't get the bye. What do you need to see from this Vikings team in the next 5 weeks to shift your mindset? And maybe you're already there, so maybe it can be you're already at that point, to shift your mindset from like this is a playoff team to this is a Super Bowl contender. Either one of you can take it first.
Just a complete game, right? Like, I think we were on our way against the Jets. We were up 20-3 late in the second, and I was feeling great. And I was like, all right, we'll go into the half up 17. Hopefully we can hang up and, put them away and, 35 to whatever, 10, 14, whatever score it would end up being. And we just didn't, right? So like, I want to see a complete game where our defense plays well, continues to, get these opportunistic turnovers, continue to bend, don't break. Even if we're letting up, like Miles said earlier, if we're letting up 17 points, that's not a big deal. As long as our offense is also playing a complete game and we are able to put up, the points that we should be putting up, which is, as he had mentioned, 21 plus easy, right? Like it should be 21 points a game minimum. And then, 20, 27, 28, whatever it ends up being, that's what we should be doing consistently. So the hard part is we're through the toughest part of our schedule. So I wanted to see that against the Cowboys or the Bills or even the Jets. And, they're a pretty darn good team, actually. We have one more tough game probably this week, right? The Lions are playing really well, but like I'm not really that concerned about the Colts, even though I'm assuming it'll be a tough game. I'm not that concerned about the Giants. I don't know why. I just feel like they're kind of, people are saying we're fraudulent. I think that was a more fraudulent team at that point in time. And then obviously you have the Packers and the Bears. So see what we can do against these Lions. If we can put it together a complete game against them, I'll feel pretty confident.
You're not concerned about the remaining schedule very much? Because I think I am.
I mean, in terms of like letdown, sure, but like I know we're not favored to win this game this week, but at least on Vegas standards. But we are the better team in every game for the rest of the year, where I wouldn't have said that over the last 4 games.
Okay. I want to see what Miles has to say first, but then I'll give my little spiel here. I don't feel the same way about the rest of the season. But Miles, what do you need to
Well,
see from this team to switch from playoff to Super Bowl contender?
I mean, maybe it's just a little bit more consistency, both sides of the ball. Like, let's put together like one of the next 5 games. Let's put together a complete game where we can. It doesn't have to be a blowout. Like, I think people are like ready to see a blowout, and I understand that. A blowout win, I should say, not a blowout loss. We've seen 2 of those. But a game where you are just not just you're not just handling a team like we did the Jets the first half, right? But like you see that
Mm-hmm.
consistent throughout the second half where there's not even a concern that they're going to come back. Like you might even only be up 10 points, but there's not a, oh my God, here we go. That type of moment where we see it and you're like, okay, they're coming back. That whole, 2-score lead is gone, that type of thing. I just kind of want to see a start to finish game where we see this team, not have to worries the last 5 minutes of the football game, 4 minutes of the football game, or they have it in hand. And I know it's a tall task for this team, but like just show me one of those, against these inferior teams. Like Ryan said, these teams, they're not the Vikings are better than these teams. Like they've proven that, and so just go out and show it. One of these, at least 1 or 2 of these weeks, where you can really just like cement that you can put a team away without having it to be dramatic as hell.
I think there's a real chance that the Vikings could lose 3 of their next 4 games, and that's how I feel about it. I feel like the Lions are playing really tough. The only game that I feel confident the rest of the year, because I'm not really counting Week 18 versus the Bears, I think we'll likely rest starters in that game, but is the Colts. The Colts at home next Saturday, I feel like is probably going to be a cakewalk. Granted, they have played their opponents pretty tight, but they're not a team that scares me, especially with Matt Ryan at quarterback. Granted, he is a veteran, but he's just like a stick in the mud back there. And he's not very elusive. And so I feel like the Vikings pressure will get there. But when you think about the Lions, and Ryan, you called it out, they're fighting and they are playing teams really hard right now. And we have to go into Detroit this week and face them. They don't have much to lose, and we kind of do, in a sense. So I feel like that's a tough game. The Giants scare me. They have a lot of weapons, and Dable's got that team playing hard as well. I mean, that's
Wait,
the thing
what
that
weapons
scares me.
do the Giants have that scare you
Well,
besides Barkley?
yeah, it is Barkley. That is who scares
Darius
me.
Slayton
Darius Slayton,
scaring you?
hey, Darius Slayton's looked good. He's looked good. He's looked good this year. Hey, we can't really talk shit though, Ryan. We've let like offenses run up and down on us. The Patriots.
Matt
I mean,
Jones,
I agree.
Georgia.
I'm just not worried about that team. Like
Are
their
you worried
defense
about the
is
Packers?
good.
Not
No.
as like an overall threat, right? We're not worried about the threat, but are you worried about that game going into Lambeau for a team that very well could be trying to make a last effort?
I'll give you that one, Matt. I'll give you the Packers. Not even just because they're trying to make a last ditch effort. I think they want to show that week 1 was a fluke. They want to do that type of thing. Like I could see that, especially a guy like
Yeah.
Rodgers. Like I don't think whether it's his last season in Green Bay or not. I think, yeah.
I'm not sitting here saying like the rest of these teams are just like a cakewalk, or anything like that. Like obviously they're going to play hard and we're probably going to get their best because again, we're a 10-2 team. Everyone's going to give us their best effort, right? But what I'm saying is like I was genuinely concerned going to Buffalo. I was genuinely concerned playing the Cowboys. Like I knew that those are going to be tough, hard games. I was excited, but like I was concerned because I knew that those would be like litmus tests, like I said, for us. I don't think these last 5 games are, I mean, except for the Lions, I'll give Lions more credit, but yeah, sure, we could even drop 2 of these. I mean, you drop games you should win all the time, right? But I'm not sitting here saying like, okay, these like I'm scared to play this team right now. Like,
Yeah.
we should be favored in every one of these games. And if we lose one or two of those, that's fine, especially depending on how we lose, right? But like, I'm not like sitting here shaking in my boots thinking, oh God, we got to go against Josh Allen. We got to go against Micah Parsons. Like, there's nobody on these teams that I'm like that scared of besides maybe this Lions offense, because this Lions offense I think is the real deal. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He scares me. Yeah, Amon-Ra. Yeah, however you say his first name. St. Brown scares the hell out of me.
How hard is it?
And
Jesus Christ.
well, did I say it that wrong? What did I say? Amon-Ra? That's right?
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Whatever,
there you go.
It's close.
We have differentiating opinions on maybe how the rest of the season might go. Regardless, though, this is still.
Hey, by the way, Matt,
team.
You said we're going to lose 3 of our next 4, so you better be putting that in your records here.
Whoa! I said we could lose 3 of our next 4. Didn't say it was going to happen.
Mr. Negativity. You used to be Mr. Optimistic over here.
Still optimistic, but this team is they like to play it close. So, and
They do.
I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop here. But like I was going to say, regardless, this is still a playoff team, and we will be in the playoffs, whether we're playing, wild card weekend or the next round after, given the bye. Wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were on who you'd want to face. So as it stands today, and that's just how we'll take it, is as today. Teams we could face would be the Eagles. Not likely to happen, but it could. The 49ers, the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Seahawks. Who would you prefer come to US Bank Stadium? Because I'm assuming we will host. It'd have to be a pretty horrific letdown to not host a playoff game.
Well, no, we're automatically going to host because we're going to win the division.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. So who's coming, and who would you want to face?
Miles, you go first.
In the first round. So hypothetically, say we get the 2 seed, 3 seed. I really, probably the Giants. Who are the other teams you said? Giants, 49ers.
Giants, 49ers, Seahawks. Bucks, Seahawks, Cowboys.
The Giants are probably the only one that I'd want to see. And Seahawks. I think we could beat the Seahawks. I think they're a pretty good team, but I think we're better than them. Now the 49ers have a backup third string, Mr. Irrelevant quarterback, but that defense is the best defense in the league, arguably the best defense in the league. So that scares me. So I'd rather avoid them if we can. Let somebody else beat them. But so for me, it'd be the Giants or the Seahawks. So there's 2 teams I'd want to see.
Okay.
And I'm not as worried about the Bucks as we have been in the past, but it's still Tom Brady in the playoffs. So again, not unbeatable, but I'd rather go a different route if we could.
Well, and again, the likelihood of us being able to play the Bucks first round, since they're going to be a division champion, we won't play them.
Right, good point.
Right, so basically, it's one of the NFC East teams, or whoever else makes it out of the NFC West, if they do, or if somehow the Lions can snake their way, or Green Bay can snake their way in. I think both of them would have to run the table, and I don't see that happening. So. Yeah, I agree with Miles. I mean, obviously, first choice would be whoever has the worst offense, right? Like whoever has the worst offense, I want to play against. So that's, to me, it's the Giants, and then probably the Seahawks after that. So Commanders are kind of in the hunt, right? So if the Commanders can make their way in, I'm comfortable playing them again. I'm not really scared of any team besides the Cowboys and the Eagles. So if it happens to be the Niners, which again, they're division leaders, so I don't anticipate we'd play them week 1 or the first round. I'm not really that worried about anyone besides the Cowboys and Eagles.
I partially would like to see the Cowboys come back here, just to see if we could give them a run for their money. But it does scare the shit out of me to
Let them
potentially
come
have to
back here in the
face them
second
again.
round.
Well, that's all I have for tonight's show outside of predictions here. So unless you guys have anything, let's do the predictions. And unfortunately, this week we were not able to secure a media guest. We went, 11, 12 weeks strong with one, but it just wasn't in the cards this week. So I'll go first. I'll set the table here. I think the Vikings are going to lose on Sunday. I don't know why I feel that way. I think maybe it's because Kirk was kind of missing some throws last week. The offense is just kind of making me a little nervous right now, and I think Dan Campbell has that team ready to kind of punch us in the mouth a little bit, and maybe it's a good reality check for us, but yeah, I think we lose on Sunday, and I think it might be like a 27-17 type loss. Might not be close. So sorry to be a Debbie Downer here tonight. Ryan, no reaction, just staring right at the camera.
That's it.
Okay, well,
That's it.
when you guys were calling losses all last year.
Yeah, that was when those were like very real concerns last year.
But we did lose. But we lost those games.
Yeah. We lost those games.
That's fair.
We've been doing this like the Vikings Happy Hour show, like branded Vikings Happy Hour for 2 years now. That last season, this season. This is the first time Matt picked the Vikings to lose.
Yeah.
When we're 10-2, he picks us to lose. Not when we're fighting.
Do you know the real reason why I'm picking them to lose? I'll be full transparency. I have a family Christmas on Sunday, and typically when I watch football games with my extended family, whatever can possibly go wrong, it's going to go wrong, and it's just going to be a bunch of people upset about the Vikings on Sunday. So that's why I think they're going to lose, because I'm having Christmas with my family on Sunday.
This is how I know Matt has no standing within his family, because I never would have let it happen where it overlapped during the game. But we're just built different, Matt.
I tried.
Like, we're just built different.
Just built different.
Do you want to call my mom and hash it out with her?
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, Mom, if you're watching right now, I'll have Miles shoot you a call, see if you can move Christmas on Sunday.
That's light work. All you gotta do is move it to like 3:30. You'll be all right.
That's true. All right, Ryan, what do you got for Sunday?
Not the same as you, that's for damn sure. I do think we put in our complete game. I'm not going to say here and say it's a blowout. I think the Lions will play us tough, but I think we play a strong defensive game. We make key stops when we need to. We're going to sustain some drives on offense against the most yards allowed team in the league, and we're going to put up some points. So I'm going to say 31-27. Win.
Well, we both have the Lions scoring 27.
What a defensive juggernaut that game is, Ryan.
I didn't say it was going to be a defensive juggernaut. I just said that we're gonna make the key plays we've been making.
Okay.
All right, Miles, what do you think?
I'm tired. I kind of agree with you, Matt. But I can't. I'm at a point with this team where I can't bet against them anymore. I think the Cowboys game, like the Bills and the Cowboys, are the two games I thought, they're not winning those games, and at least the Cowboys when I was right, but I didn't want to be right. I'm gonna go 30-24 Vikings.
Okay. There we go. God, let's go. I knew Miles wouldn't let me down, unlike Matt.
Well, I mean,
hey, well, So, well, I can. Well, here's what I can do, Matt. I can if the Lions win, all I gotta say is, man, I couldn't bet it. I couldn't say it. I couldn't predict it, and I can just run it back and be okay. If I say they're gonna lose and then they win, people are gonna shit on me for that. No thanks, I'm good.
Bring it.
It's
Bring
the
it.
holidays.
If they win on
It's
Sunday,
holidays.
fire it up. I'm ready for it. I feel like Kevin O'Connell.
No.
Hot take. I feel like Kevin O'Connell feels like a loss is coming again. I just, in the way he talks, he's just almost like preparing fans in a sense to face adversity because
they had like what 6 guys out of practice today with an illness.
That's also true.
I mean, it's Wednesday.
related,
It is
but
Wednesday. Yeah. It is Wednesday, so the hope is by Sunday, by travel day Saturday, like these guys got IV'd up and they're okay. But it could impact them because they're they could they're just game speed. Their what's the word I'm looking for? Stamina and stuff like that could be down. So that could have an impact.
All right.
No, we're gonna take some bite some kneecaps this weekend. We're gonna pull off this win.
All right. Well, I hope you guys are right. That's all we have for tonight. If you haven't already, please go over to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, and ring the bell as it says on the screen. We go live every week at 8 o'clock Central Wednesdays for Vikings Happy Hour. Dave, do we have anything the rest of the week that we need to share?
We do. Tomorrow night, we have Vikings Hot Takes at 8:30 with Great Flip Mozzie and Eric Thompson. One of the questions they're asking is, when will the Vikings lock up the NFC North? If it was up to Matt, it would not be Sunday. But since it's up to the rest of us, it's going to be Sunday. I can already answer that question. It's going to be a fun Vikings Hot Takes. And then on Saturday, you have myself and Darren Campbell. We're your 2 old bloggers. We are going to get into the question of, first theme is going to be, should Rager take more snaps from KJ Osborne? We're going to look at that, see if that should happen. Obviously, Rager's good, fast, very good in the trick plays like Miles has him. And but the question is, should they split some of those snaps and do a little bit more on that end? In the second theme, I have been researching all week into concussions. We're going to have a concussions talk because of Christian Darrisaw and Caleb Evans, who went on IR today with his third one. Concussions is a major deal. Is it fluky? Partially, but also it's an engineering problem. If you can reduce the impact on the head, you might solve that problem. And I'm going to talk about, when I get into it towards the end, should the Vikings go with a better helmet? It'll be an interesting discussion. And then, of course, we're going to break down the game like nobody else does. We'll get into the numbers, how people match up, and how the Vikings will win on Sunday. Then, of course, after the game, we have the final score, which Matt usually partakes in, but he's already telling me right now he's going to be at a Christmas party.
I am. Yes. Ryan can join.
If Ryan wants to, I'll put him on there. But you're going to be at the
Maybe
same.
I'm going to definitely be at some bar with Crockett, so I don't know if I'll be in the right state of mind, but we'll see.
But Aaron is right in the comments. 10-2, baby. 10-2. Sunday, let's make that 11.
Let's go. Let's go.
What do we say, guys?
Skol Vikes.
Skol Vikes.
Let's go.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and feel free to rate us on your favorite aggregator. A big shout out goes to our partners, the Daily Norseman, where the best Vikings content can be found. To That's Badass Wood Art, when you're looking for something unique to brighten your space. And to Lake Monster Brewing, home of the best beer in Minnesota. Skol, everybody!